Hello, my name is Ramindra Deshapriya and I am a Google Summer of Code student for 2012 for the Sahana Software Foundation. My project is full support for multiple languages and my mentors are Greg Miernicki and Glenn Pearson. Moving on to the project goals. One of the main goals is to streamline the methodology with proper integration between human translations and Google translations with caching, with a level of caching for Google translations. And there's also a great deal of work going into streamlining the context to sort of normalize them and to standardize them in a certain set structure, and also to add these standardized contexts to all the UI strings found in Vesuvius. Also, there's a restructure of the resource page translations. Next, we'll be moving on to the progress that has been made so far towards the midterm evaluation. So by now, I've developed a method to cache Google translations in a specialized PO or Poodle translation file, and also developed a way to alternate between human translated POs and Google translated POs. So the Google translated PO is actually the method of caching the Google translations. And also I've developed a new context structure and I'm still working on that structure as well. Points are being added to it all the time, and I've been adding context to a lot of modules in Vesuvius. So moving on, the first thing we'll be looking at is the alternation between Google translations in the specialized Google PO files and human translated PO files. First of all, I have a couple of PO files here. These are located in the res locale folder of Vesuvius. So here you can see a list of PO files and also the Poodle translation template file, which we have over from last year. So the last year, one of my tasks was to develop a script to build this, and so these are the two files for the French locale that I'll be looking at: fr_g.pog and fr.po. So fr.po is the human translated Poodle file. As you can see, we have message IDs, message strings, and message context. So the context is what gets dropped into this message context part of each translation. As you can see, this is a string from the hospital administration module in Vesuvius, and for this particular string, add a new hospital, we do not have a translation in French. So this is the string that I will be using for end-to-end testing of this functionality in Vesuvius. Add a new hospital does not have a translated French string, but I do have one in the Google translated PO file. So what I'm going to show you is how whenever human translation is not available, it will be replaced by the Google translation, and whenever a human translation is available, priority will be given to the human translation. So now I have Vesuvius over here and the hospital administration module with the English locale. You'll have to forgive the slowness of some of the loading times because I am actually making this video on my netbook because my PC's motherboard had a burnout. Anyway, so we'll take a look at the French locale. As you remember, the human translated PO had the translation for this string, did not have the translation for this string, but the Google translated PO did. So we'll take a look at that again. So this is the human translated PO. we do not have a translation for add a new hospital. In the Google Translate PO we do. So moving on to Vesuvius, if I transform this into French, as you can see, the Google translation has been applied from that PO. Now to do a small experiment, what I'll do is I'll add this, the correct string. Now one of the main problems we have with Google Translate is that most of the strings that it returns, a large number of strings that it returns, are actually wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some junk to the Google translated string. Okay, now as you may remember from last year, in order to convert or to be able to use a particular PO file, we need to convert it into a machine object file, which is a binary file. So for that I had a script which I brought over from last year. So what I'm going to do is run this script, and it's going to convert both of these PO files into MO files for me, which I can use. Okay, so you can see it's taking quite a while on this netbook Atom processor. Anyway, so now we have the MO files. We'll take a look at those again. So this one has the string now for add a new hospital, the human translated one, and the Google translated one has a translation with some junk in there. And what I'm going to show you is how human translations are prioritized. So what should happen is when I refresh this page, this should remain the same. As you can see, the human translation has been applied. Just to show you exactly that's what's happening, I'm going to remove the human translation and rebuild the MO files. Now what should happen is we should get that string with the junk values, because the only available string or translation is the Google translation. Okay, so the wrong Google translation has been applied because we don't have a human translation available. Okay, so the next part, just we'll take a look at the code that actually did this. This is the underscore getText function within the getText library of Vesuvius. So what I do is I generate two MO or translation caches based on the two PO files or MO files for Google translations and human translations, and I check the human translation whether the particular string is available, and then if that's not available, I simply apply this translation from the Google translated PO file. So what I'll do now is I'll remove both of these, because we have another part of the functionality that we have to check, and that is using actually checking whether the Google Translated API has been updated or whether it's returning a new string, and queuing a particular locale for translation, or for a Google PO rebuild, as I like to call it. So what happens is I've modified the Google Trans PHP file from last time. I've added a new gtranslate class to it. Okay, my netbook is having a little trouble here. I've added a new gtranslator class to it. So, and also in order to rebuild PO files manually using PHP, I found a really handy PO parser class developed by this guy. and it's GPL, so quite reusable for the purpose of Vesuvius. And I've also added and modified quite a bit of it to be able to handle context and to be able to actually rewrite a PO file, because that was not included in the original functionality of this class. So this is that part which I modified, and also I modified a large part to be able to handle message context. So what I do is, in the case of a particular string, a translation not being available, that's done in actually the getText method. When a particular string is not available in both the human translated PO file and the Google translated PO file, I will check with the Google Translate API whether a particular whether there is a new string with a new translation for that string, and if it returns something different, I will queue that particular locale for Google PO rebuild. So at this moment I'm having a little trouble with, because Google Translate is now a paid service. The API is, you need to pay $20 per million characters or something similar. So actually Greg and Glenn have been able to secure an API key for me. However, I'm having some problems with IP, because my router keeps changing my IP, and Google Translate API now requires a very specific IP in order to use it. So what I've done is, for the purposes of this demonstration, I've created a dummy function. So what it does is simply checks through an array, and if the message ID that is passed into this function is available in the array, it will return the relevant translation. It's pretty simple stuff, but it does sort of in a very rudimentary way emulate what Google Translate API does for us. So as you can see, I try to return a Google translation. If the Google translation is a new thing, I will queue the PO for a rebuild. So what we'll do is, we'll remove this particular string from both of the files. So this is add a new hospital, and as you can see in the dummy function that I've written, add a new hospital is available. So what will happen is, it will check both POs for this string, and if this string is not available, it will check this dummy function, and because the dummy function is returning a translation, it will think, okay, Google Translate API has been updated, or it can now support this particular translation. So it will queue the locale to this file, rewrite POs list. Okay, it seems there's already a something in there, so I'll just delete that as soon as it opens up, of course. Okay, so I don't need that queue, I actually need to build the queue. Okay, so what I'll do is, I'll refresh this. Oh, actually I forgot to rebuild the MOS, so I'll have to go back and rebuild those. So from the POs that don't contain this particular string, I'll have to rebuild MO files, because as you can see, the old string is being displayed. Okay, so as you can see, what happened was, as this string is not available, so it should have been queued in here. Okay, so this locale has been queued for Google PO rebuild. And now the next step of this, which will be done on the Vesuvius developer side, probably on now our side, is the rebuilding of Google POs. For this I've created the PHP script, Google PO builder.php, which simply uses the PO parser and the GTranslator class to rebuild the Google PO based on what the Google Translate API returns for each string. And so what I'm doing is I am looking through the file and looking through each locale, and in a loop I rebuild each Google PO. So this build Google PO function is in the GTranslator class. Okay, well, here it is. It uses the PO parser to parse the human translated PO, and it checks which translations are empty, and all those translations are queried as a request to the Google Translate API, which in this case is my dummy function. So this is the PO parser. And finally the PO parser itself writes all of these into a file in the correct format. So what should happen now is, because this particular locale French has been queued for Google PO rebuild, once I run this build POG script, which is another shell script that I've written, what it does, it simply runs the PHP script, then finds the POG files and converts them into MO files. Nothing, not a big deal. Anyway, what should happen after I run this script at this point is we should get a new fr_g POG file with this string added in. So let's hope that works out. Okay, now we can get to running this script. It will give a few warnings because there are some PHP include problems. So we should have a new fr_g POG with that particular string added. As you can see, it has been added and the file has been rewritten. The whole file has been rewritten. So this string has been added as well, this translation. So now if I were to now, as you can see, the MO was built as well, so if I were to refresh this, this should show the correct string, the translation. As you can see, that has worked as well. So that's the functionality between alternating between human POs and Google POs. Now we'll be taking a short look at the context structure that has been used. So for that we'll be looking at the admin module, which has the best examples for this in my opinion. So I'm opening up the main file in that. So the new context structure is a 3-part structure. or basically it will either be 2-part or 3-part based on the requirement of each context of each string. So the first part will be the module name, so this is admin. Second part will be a particular usage of this string, so this string is being used for user permissions. And the third part will be a description of where in the layout of what role this particular string plays in the layout of each screen of Vesuvius. So as you can see, this is just simply text, so it has a text. The third part of the context is known as text. So that's basically a look into what the contexts are like. So I've been adding these contexts to a lot of the modules in Vesuvius, and what remains to be done is I need to figure out the IP problem with the Google Translate API. Then I also need to work on the resource page system, which also needs a certain level of caching, which will involve the database of Vesuvius as well. So that's it from me for now. So thank you very much for watching this video, and hope to see you again soon. And I hope that by the end of this project we'll have a working translation functionality that can be used with Vesuvius wherever it is installed. Thank you very much.